possibly what he had in mind was the difficulty of an ordinary person to go through a critical study of all the literature belonging to different religions, that not being within one's scope, within one's scope in time, to have performed, to be able to perform, this poses a virtual impossibility. Is that the question? Or have I misunderstood you? Because if I have not misunderstood you, the way you have framed your question, the answer is just simple. Increase your study of the literature of different religions, and then you will be able to judge. Is that what you wanted to know?
No. It was just why you feel that Ahmadiyya is the right path to choose. Basically, I didn't want to put that down there.
You see, your question is not clear, perhaps even in your mind. You're confused by the so many calls from all over the world, claiming we are right and we are right. And what is special about Ahmadiyyat, which makes it worthy of attention? Is this the essence of your question? Correct. The special about Ahmadiyyat is that this is the only, not religion, the only understanding of Islam, and only let me explain this. This is a bit difficult, requiring deeper attention, Ahmadis are not, Ahmadiyyat is not a new religion. So that is why I have been trying to avoid this word religion in application to Ahmadiyyat. Ahmadiyyat, as we believe it, is another name for true Islam. Right? So, why do we claim special attention over and above all the other sects in Islam, and over and above the claims of all other religions to be right? That is now clear, right? The reason why is that we claim that we have been founded by Allah recently, and by a direct intervention by divine forces, Ahmadiyyat came into being. All such religions or sects who claim the same, they would share this right of attention with Ahmadis. But there will be very few, perhaps. I think if you re-examine their claims, you will come to the conclusion that no one else shares this distinction with Ahmadiyyat, who claims to have been freshly founded by Allah and not by human agencies, not by scholars, but by God Himself. Now, this is a very tall claim, but if it is true, it's worthy of all attention. So, to begin with, I suggest that you should pray to Allah to help you reach the right decision. Because if He has founded Ahmadiyya, then He is the only judge. So anyone who prays to Him in all humility will, I hope, be rightly guided by Allah, because it is His responsibility. So in that way, I'm quite sure, in fact, it's not a question of hope, I'm quite sure you will be aided by God to ultimately understand the truth of Ahmadiyyat. Over and above that, try to read more about Ahmadiyyat from the Ahmadiyya books. Okay? Thank you. Please.
Next question is from in Sweden. Her name is Carolina Hellman. She's sitting there. And she writes, I've met you and listened to you when you visited Kalmar. And she asks, since the message of Ahmadi Muslims and other religions is peace and love, how come the world is now facing a cruel reality with nuclear bombs and other things, and how could we change it for the better?
In answer to the first part of the question, I have repeatedly made it clear that you cannot just go by claims, because everyone makes good claims. All the world governments say we are working for peace. We are shaping our policies in accordance with the requirements of the suffering humanity. But when you come to the realities of their activities and their pursuits, they give a lie to their claim. All they actually do is to increase the pending threat to the world peace. This is the ultimate analysis. The same happens with religions. It's not just the case of political governments, it is the case of every religion as well. They all claim to lead to God and to lead to peace. While if you follow their advice, you'll be led to destruction and to the devil, not to God or to peace. This is a subject which has to be understood in depth with reference to some realities. Otherwise, you may consider me a person who is condemning other religions without a right, and who is demanding an exceptional treatment of his own faith. Normally, this should be the corollary of what I am saying. The reality again is that we do not believe, Ahmadis, in the use of any coercion in matters of faith. All coercions which compel anyone under the threat of punishment to change their faith are outside our domain. But when you turn to all other religions, you'll be amazed to find that some concept of coercion goes hand in hand with those religions. Look at the fundamentalists in Islam. Their concept of the spread of Islam is always related to their worldly power. If they gain access to the worldly power, they claim they can spread Islam easily and in fact carry it out to all the world, but never without the worldly power. So as such they should be dismissed, because God does not require any worldly power to assist the truth. God requires the truth to spread by its own force. So if a religion adheres strictly to this principle, that the truth does not need any external help, it contains an internal force of beauty which must in the end emerge victorious. If this is the claim of a religion, then that religion is worthy of attention. We believe that this is not only our claim, but throughout our activities in the world, this claim can be proved to be right. You understand this point? So as such, we invite your attention to Ahmadiyyat and to the study of this, the truth of this claim, the validity of this claim. I'm quite sure you'll find it not applicable to other claimants. Right? Thank you. When did you come from Kalmar? When?
I've been here for 5 months.
Quite some time? For quite some time here?
I've been here for 5 months.
Acha, right.
You
And-
were there 2 years ago.
I understand now. You are known to the family of Malik Naseem, and that is why you have been invited to this session, right? Good. Thank you.
Hazur,
You see, I had some difficulty in dealing with this question of yours as briefly as it was possible for me to do so. If I had permitted myself much greater time, I could explain all these things with reference to the known realities, and that would have made it easier for me to answer your question. But you found me in deep difficulty because I was trying to select fewer words in which I could pack all the meaning I want to be packed. Got it? Thank you.
next question, Hazur, is David Livingston Thomas, who's a
Yes,
social
please.
worker.
Who is this gentleman? Yes, please. Please.
He asks, how was the Quran put together? Where is the original text now?
This is the original text, which you hold in your hand as Quran. This exactly is the original text. The fact is that when the Quran was being revealed, it was written down by scribes on sheets of parchments, on sheets of different material, you know. But definitely there were parchments on which the Quran was written down. There were some special scribes appointed for this purpose. And when the Quran was revealed, it was revealed in a different order from the one in which you find it written in the Quran nowadays. The question is, who changed the order and why? This change in its order of presentation was a matter which was decided by the Holy Prophet of Islam under divine guidance throughout the revelation of the Quran. So it didn't take him too long to wait for this ultimate decision. While the Quran was being revealed, at the same time he instructed that this verse or this surah should be placed at that place or that place. So the order of the Quran was also revealed, but the order of revelation was different. Why? Because it was revealed according to situations which demanded special guidance of certain verses. Those verses could not have been revealed much longer after, because the people demanded guidance there and then. So in the permanent arrangement, they should not have been revealed at that point. But because of the dictates of the situation, they had to be revealed. So this may sound a bit complicated to you, but the more complicated it sounds, the more miraculous it becomes. Because for a person who is totally illiterate, who is absolutely unlettered, to remember during the period of 23 years of the revelation of the Quran, where a certain verse must go, and to dictate it to the scribes during its revelation, what should be the permanent order of the Quran. This is one of the greatest miracles of the Quran, which should be enough to testify to the truth of its revelation. Because now when you read it in this order, you'll be amazed to see that every verse is connected with the next verse. And every surah is connected with the next surah. Starting from the Bay of Bismillah, the word letter Bay of Bismillah, to the letter Seen of the last verse, An-Nas, the whole Quranic revelation is connected and flows without interruption till the end. So if you understand this, you'll be amazed how a person, an illiterate person, could have achieved this during a lifetime of 23 years of the Quranic revelation. Are you answered? This is the question you wanted to find, to resolve? Okay. What I have pointed out is a very important factor. For all non-believers, this factor should be studied in depth, the one which I am pronouncing now. And on this, you will find assistance with the help of reading the great tafsir, we call it, called Connotation of the Quran, written by my late father, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad. His commentary of the Quran is his commentary of the Quran specifically relates to this issue of relationship between verses and verses and the surahs and surahs. And he gives his arguments, such weighty arguments in favor of what he claims, that ordinary reader is convinced as he proceeds. So if you read his commentary, that will help you understand all that I have just said. Thank you. Please.
Aiden King, who's a student, is the next questioner. What must be done, he asks, if someone disrespects the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
What?
What must be done if someone disrespects the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Someone disrespects, blasphemy.
Aha, you're talking of blasphemy. Are you talking of blasphemy? You see, if anyone dares to disrespect a respectable person, he only virtually disrespects his own honor. No more. If there is someone worthy of respect and you do not give him that right, you debase your own self by doing so. And that is the punishment. No physical punishment is described by the Holy Quran with respect to disrespect of holy beings. The Quran is disrespected by an overwhelmingly large majority of people in the world. But where is the punishment for that? None whatsoever. But but people do not understand that when they do not show respect to something which is respectable, by virtue of the same act, they do not treat themselves respectfully. They debase themselves. Right? For instance, if a guest comes to your house, guest should be honored. And you treat that guest with utter disregard or even by insults hurled against him. That guest may leave your house, never to return again. But it will not be he who is disrespected. It is your own self which is debased. And this is the first punishment for all those who do not show respect where respect should be shown. Later on, if this matter is religious, then later on, another punishment awaits such a person after his death, not during this lifetime. That entirely depends on God. You understand? Thank you.
Adrian had two other questions. One, I think you've already answered, concerns the authenticity of the Quran. His third question is, in what part of the Quran is there mention of another prophet? In what part of the Quran has mention been made of another prophet?
Name?
In what part of the Quran has it been mentioned about the coming of another prophet?
Right. In chapter Al-Jumu'ah of the Holy Quran, this subject is discussed in detail. And to help you understand the Quranic verses which relate to this subject, we have a hadith of Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the founder of Islam, which is reported by Al-Bukhari. And that hadith assists us to understand the message of the first few verses of Surah Al-Jumu'ah. And we can precisely know the message that a prophet or a subordinate prophet is predicted about in the future.
We have a questioner from Italy. Her name is Anesi Mikela.
Yes, please.
And she writes, why is there a mafia in Italy, in particular in the south of Italy? And goes on to say, what can be done to eradicate the mafia?
Please. I'm sorry to say that nothing can be done to eradicate this mafia, because this mafia springs from immorality. And as long as the morals of the people are not corrected, or at least an awareness is created among people to work for higher morality, nothing can be done for all the evils which spring from immorality. Mafia is just one of those evils. However much you may hate, you can't do anything about it. For that you have to change the entire attitude of mankind towards issues of morality and immorality. Thank you.
We've got a question from a Bosnian lady, Selveta Ali Majstorovic from Sarajevo. She asks, in Bosnia there is now peace, but the country is going down. There is no improvement in any sense. There is corruption, and only a small group of people are getting rich, while the large majority do not have a job or any income at all. What is your advice and guidance for the Bosnian people?
A part of this question has already been answered, because at the time of freedom, the Bosnian people should have returned to the concept of absolute morality, without which nothing could be done to improve the situation of Bosnia. Unfortunately, the only community, which is Ahmadiyya community, who worked for this purpose in Bosnia and among Bosnians outside Bosnia, is being rejected under the influence of such so-called religious powers who do not want Bosnians to return to Islamic morality. They want Bosnians to be subjugated to their superiority with the help of the money they distribute to a few, not to the whole of the Bosnians. So they buy leadership, and that leadership can be counted on fingertips. They buy them and they begin to work as their agents among the people. And because they are accepted leaders, recognized leaders, so they are capable of misleading their people. While the people could easily judge them by virtue of their own situation. They are permitted to steal, rob, do anything to improve their day-to-day financial position. But they are not guided to the right path whereby they could follow a good, sound economic policy by which they could all benefit as a people, as a whole. So this is the major problem which is besetting or which is bothering the Boston people today. They do not find themselves in a position to analyze the whole problem clearly, and a lot of confusion exists. To improve the situation, I have been sending Ahmadis from Germany and also from England. For instance, the lady who is sitting by your side and is translating what I am saying, she was also sent by me to Bosnia to critically examine the situation and suggest to me the ways and means to improve that situation. From Bosnia, we have been sending Ibrahim, who always visits Bosnia with this purpose and always returns with some hopes based on what he has achieved there. So it's an onward fight, ongoing fight. We are doing our best to improve the quality of Boston life. But we confront huge difficulties. They block our path like mountains, because Saudi Arabia and other such wealthy powers of the world stand to confront our message and to block the passage of this message to reach the Boston people. So these are apparently insurmountable difficulties which we confront, but with the hope, we hope that with the help of prayers, with the help of Allah's special favor, we'll ultimately win. And Fariha can tell you the reasons why we hope we can ultimately win. Because gradually we are gaining more people to our side, and they are increasing in number with the passage of time.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Next question. Next question is from Mrs. Fenic. She's sitting there on the front. From South Africa, she originates from. She's a registered nurse. She asks if there's a God.
From South
Africa. If there is a God, why is there so much fighting?
Where?
Her question is, if there is a God, why is
All
there so
over
much
the world.
fighting?
I think you should have got interested in a different question, more than this, which is causing the biggest problem in South Africa. Recently it has been discovered that among all the countries of the world, it is not Uganda or other similar countries who lead the world in AIDS. It is South Africa which leads the entire world in the spread of AIDS. And a very large proportion, unimaginably large proportion, of South African blacks at least suffer from this disease, and it is going totally out of hands. So you should have shown greater concern for your own country rather than the others which confront various problems of terrorism, wars, etc., etc. a war has to be launched against the immorality in South Africa, because it is the immorality which is causing the spread of the most fatal disease, AIDS, and it is quite possible, I do not say likely, but it is quite possible that within the next 3 or 4 years, the disease AIDS may take its toll in South Africa so heavily that the largest part of Africa, that is South Africa, may be emptied of life totally in very large areas here and there. This is the danger which you confront today. And you being a nurse, you should have had some experience yourself. Have you had some experience? Yes. So I hope and pray that man returns to obedience to Allah and shape his life according to the morality which is always divinely guided. It cannot be guided by the hands of humans. Morality and God, they are inseparably related. To return to morality is to return to God. To return to God is to return to morality. Thank you.
Next questioner is Shahid Rashid.
Yes, please.
Right. He describes himself as a young Muslim having an urge to know about Islam.
Having?
An urge
Right,
to know about Islam.
Very good.
And his question is, when we have the same way of prayers, fasting, and other supplications, then what is new that Ahmadiyyat preaches? What are the significant Islamic practices which other Muslims do not perform and Ahmadiyyat proclaims to do?
Partially your question has been answered during the various answers given by me in this session. Partly here and partly there. In fact, I have answered your question. The essential central feature of Ahmadiyyat is its universality. We pay emphasis on the unity of God in the sense that if God is one, then the teaching of religion must also be universal. Because it's not possible, according to us, for God to declare different teachings to different people in a manner that they contradict with each other. So the central role of every religion must be exactly the same, that is to relate man to God and also to relate man to other human beings. This is our belief and this is our practice. It's not just belief, it is a practice of Ahmadiyya community all over the world. That is why you find an amazingly unique sense of unity among the Ahmadis who are spread all over the world. There are Chinese Ahmadis, there are Japanese Ahmadis, South African Ahmadis and North African Ahmadis, American Ahmadis and Canadian Ahmadis. Still they are linked into one single entity, which in itself is a proof enough to testify to the truth of Ahmadiyya claim that we do believe in the unity of God. If we believe in the unity of God, it is impossible for us not to demonstrate that unity in the Ahmadiyya Jamaat itself. And that is what we have achieved with the grace of Allah. So if you study Ahmadiyyat from this vantage point, you will reach the same conclusion. The easiest way for you is to meet Ahmadis who have gathered here from different nationalities, from different races, etc. I think the collection of Ahmadis here belonging to different nations is quite some. And you meet them, and you'll be amazed to find a sense of unity among them all. All barriers created by geography and racial differences will appear to you as having disappeared. Can I request the Ahmadis belonging to different nations who are present in this majlis to stand up, please? Yes. It's difficult for you to contact everybody now, but they're available. If you find from the Imam, we can give you the addresses of such Ahmadis who belong to different nations and races who live in England, including the English people, of course. You can have their addresses and you can meet them if you please, whenever you find time. And you will find the truth of what I say by personal experience. Right? Thank you.
Our next questioner is Samuel Donkor. He's sitting there.
Yes, please.
He's from Ghana.
Yes.
And he's asking, when Muslims in general all believe in the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why is it that Ahmadis are not allowed to go to Mecca?
There's no reason why. You're right. There's no reason whatsoever. Next. You know, I've answered you. That means they are not authorized by God to do so. So there is no reason.
Nusrat Kaloshi is next questioner. He says, I have accepted Ahmadiyya Jamaat recently. Please can you tell me how many Ahmadis there are in Macedonia and why we don't have mosques in Macedonia?
In fact, we have a very ambitious plan to build mosques in Macedonia. And there are some very devout Macedonian Ahmadis who have especially impressed me by the quality of their sincerity, who reside in Germany. And from among them, I have chosen a few to go frequently to Macedonia, to return to Macedonia, to spread the message of Ahmadiyyat to them, because when they hear it from a Macedonian, they will be more seriously interested in it. And before my return to England from Germany, in one of my last meetings, I met a very devout Macedonian who reported to me all the achievements of his previous visits to Macedonia. And the report was very encouraging. He said, although the imams of the various mosques, under the influence of some rich or oil-rich countries outside Macedonia, are taking into their hand the task of opposing Ahmadiyyat. But the common people of Macedonia are sensible and honest enough to reject their call when the true message of Ahmadiyyat is conveyed to them. With the result, they cannot do any damage to the spread of Ahmadiyyat. All we need is a patient persuasion of the people with the help of documented evidence in favor of Ahmadiyyat. So that is being prepared in Macedonian language. And partly it is done, partly we have the help of audios and videos, because they are easier to produce. So things are being done in Macedonia, which will inshallah find Macedonia to become one of the overwhelmingly populated Ahmadiyya country, inshallah.
Yeah, but we have couple Ahmadi Jamaat, but we don't have mosques.
This is what I'm saying. We have mosques now.
Now, Muslim.
Yes, this is what I began with. We have mosques now in Macedonia, number one, because all the worshippers of some mosque, along with their imams, have become Ahmadis. So, naturally, as a result of that, the mosque has become an Ahmadiyya mosque. So, this is the first step. But the second step is, although being seriously contemplated, but there are legal difficulties in that. To build new mosques, I have provided them with enough money, apart from whatever they can collect from the Macedonians themselves, to make an ambitious plan of building new mosques. But there are legal difficulties, because the government is not favorable to the spread of Muslim praying places. So it is a political problem which stands in our way. It's not lack of any intention on our part. You understand this point?
Yes.
So we are trying hard to overwhelm these problems by sending delegations to the government officials and telling them that we are a religious community which are really peaceful. Any permission granted to us to build mosques will not be able to be occupied by terrorists. All the activities which revolve around these religious centers will be directed towards achieving greater peace for you, not disturbances. We hope that if they are fully convinced of this, then perhaps they will lift sanctions against building of mosques, at least in relation to the Ahmadiyyat. You know this, the situation to be exactly as I have described? That's right, yes. Thank you.
Mr. Ahmed Javed from Afghanistan is our next questioner. Right.
Yes.
What do you think about Afghanistan's problems, and what is your advice to bring peace there?
Afghanistan problem?
Yes.
If they know that I have given them an advice, they would reject it outright. So how can I help them? Only I can help them the way the cheats and liars try to achieve their purpose by rendering the wrong advice, which they know will be rejected. So the opposite will be true. So if they know that I am the one who is advising them, and my advice is absolutely wrong, then by rejecting them, they will be able to help themselves. But no, I'm not a person who can cheat. Whatever I say has to be true. And if they hear truth from my lips, they will reject it totally. And this is what has been happening throughout the history of Afghanistan. Ahmadis have offered great sacrifices on that soil. Their blood was shed on the soil for the sake of upholding the values of truth. And by being cruel to Ahmadiyyat and the truth of Ahmadiyyat, they have in fact invited all the trouble which they are confronted nowadays. So how can we help such a people? By enforcing the truth upon them. We cannot. They have rejected the truth and they are suffering from the consequences. And they will continue to suffer from the consequences of rejecting the truth by punishing their own people. The Afghans are in fact divided into two different groups, and they are punishing each other so heavily that it's intolerable how they spring suffering and torture upon others of their own kith and kin. So this is the reality of Afghanistan, in which all our efforts, as I have explained, have not produced any fruit. In fact, they have been counterproductive. So I understand your concern, humanitarian concern. You share that concern with me. But practically, you cannot propose any solution which can work there. You agree? Thank you.
Zub, we have now 3 people who've asked a question on a topic, on a similar topic. They are Dr. Wahid Khan, who's a physician at Chelsea at Westminster Hospital.
Yes, please. And?
Sifa Fariz from Sarajevo.
Yes, please.
And then we have Behram Mucista, a Bosnian.
Yes, please.
The question is, what should be our attitude according to true Islamic teachings and spirit to the recent atomic weapon testing by India and Pakistan, and to the spread of such weapons in the world?
I think it is rather late in life that this question is asked. When America went for all the testing, when Russia went for all the testing of American weapons, why did not anyone ask the same question? Pakistan and India have not done anything which is new in this field. Before that, great world powers, Russia, China, America, etc., and even a small power which has acquired bigness, that is Israel. They have done exactly the same things hundreds of times over. No eyebrows were raised. So what justification there is to raise people's eyebrows against these tests when they are carried out on the soil of India and Pakistan, while they do not pose any threat to the world peace at all? They pose a threat to themselves. So why are they concerned? Successful testing of these bombs is not going to destroy America or Russia or China for that matter. They're stupid enough to be locked up in a battle which is destructive, and destructive against themselves, destructive against the interest of their own people, particularly destructive against the interest of the poor people of the country, which make a very large majority of the population of the countries. So I think this answer should be understood in its proper perspective, and there is nothing we can do to improve this situation at all.
Right. Next question is from Muhammad Aslam Sheikh. He says, is it the case that Hazrat Isa and Imam Mahdi have come to this world and passed away?
Yes, that's right. True. You're absolutely right.
This is what I have. Okay, if you can sort it out. Behram Mucista is Behram Mucista.
Yes, please.
Yes. He says, I have decided to keep a beard as I am a Muslim.
Yes.
But could you please explain the significance of keeping a beard in Islam?
Can you understand the significance why men are created by Allah with their facial hair to grow and turn into beards, and why women do not share this quality? So for you to keep beard is just to follow the dictates of nature. apart from that, it's a matter of taste. And also it's a matter of bad taste. When you live in a society where this natural, what should I say? If you live in a society where they disregard Allah's creation and wipe out all traces of beard from their faces by doing this and that, then after a while you begin to like this, because people all around you are without beards. But if beards are grown and properly maintained, then those beards appear beautiful. So it's a matter of taste or distaste, but if you follow the dictates of nature which is created by Allah, then I'm sure that to grow beard would be natural and not to grow beard would be unnatural. So what you have decided is a natural thing. You should have done it. And additionally, let me assure you that the beard on your face looks beautiful. Thank you.
Brother Nusrat has put forward another question. He says, why is there fighting and war wherever there are Muslims? And why is Islam seemingly only offering Muslims war and fighting?
This is not true. Why there are fights in India, in Sierra Leone, let alone Sierra Leone, in Sri Lanka, in Ireland, in the Indochina countries? They're not Muslims, are they? So this question is wrongly founded. The question is not right. Where there are Muslims, there are also fights. But there are fights not because they are Muslims, there are fights because they are not Muslims. They claim to be Muslims. The same applies to all the people of the world. They claim to be belonging to different religions while actually they are not. That is the reason why there are fights. Like Sri Lanka, they are Buddhists, are they not? And according to Buddhism, they should not hurt even an insect. While they are so cruel in dealing with humans there, that sometimes their cruelty surpasses other cruelties perpetrated in other parts of the world. So this is a good example of this duality in the character of some religious people. They claim to be different, but they act differently. That is the reason why you find fights elsewhere, now all over the world. You agree? Thank you.
In order to save time, Hazur, we did short and abbreviate Muhammad Aslam Sheikh's question.
There is plenty of time.
Right.
Don't worry.
So let me put his question in the original wording that he actually set out.
Please.
He says, most respectful Mirza Tahir Ahmed, as it has been mentioned by the Imam of the London Mosque, that the respected Mirza Ghulam Ahmed was Messiah Maud and Imam Mahdi. Do I please take from this that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam and Imam Mahdi have come to this world and passed away? Where respectful Mirza Ghulam Ahmed has been buried, he then asks. And there's more.
Buried, right. He is buried in Qadian. And when he claimed to be both the Messiah and the Mahdi, his claim should not be misunderstood to be literal. He never claimed to be the same Jesus Christ who lived around 2000 years ago in this world. He believed that he died like all other prophets did. And he proved this claim with the help of many verses of the Quran, which can lead you to the only conclusion that Jesus must have died like all other prophets had died before him. Now, having founded his assertion on this claim, he argued that the Jesus who was prophesied had to be an image of that Jesus, not literally the same person, had to be a metaphorical representation of that Jesus. So that understood, there does not have to be any need for creating two separate persons, one the Imam Mahdi and the other the Jesus, because Jesus is metaphorical, so he can combine this representation within Imam Mahdi. This was the logical conclusion drawn by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. And amazingly, this is the same conclusion which was drawn by Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and is mentioned in a book of hadith which is a part of 6 authentic books of hadith. That is Ibn Majah. In the words of Ibn Majah, Lal Mahdiyo illa Isa. There will be no Mahdi other than Isa. So if the commonly held erroneous view that Isa has to literally descend from heaven is correct, then how could this hadith be correct? Lal Mahdiyo illa Isa. It can only be correct if the Messiah to come is metaphorical, and he could merge his person with that of the Mahdi. This exactly is the Ahmadiyya belief. You understand the point? And what is the second part of your question which remains to be answered, please?
He asked, do Ahmadiyya movement believe that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the last messenger sent by
That's
Allah?
correct.
And further, that there will be no more messengers of Allah?
We believe, positively believe, that the holy founder of Islam was the last of the law-bearing prophets. Now, this should be very clearly understood by you. The last of the law-bearing prophets, which means no new law can be introduced by any person in the world claiming it to be a divine revelation. So if someone is born within the law of the Quran and also follows the unchangeable sunnah or the practices of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is only such as these who can be raised to the status of prophets. But there will always be subordinate prophets, not independent. And for a subordinated prophet or subordinate prophet to be born within Islam is not against the ayat, the verse Khatam an-Nabiyyin. This verse in fact means that Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has finished all the prophets but not himself. So this is the main mistake which is which generally misleads the people of today. Khatam an-Nabiyyin does not mean a prophet which after finishing all the prophets, God forbid, committed suicide. He lives on while no other prophet lives. And if he lives on, he is capable of creating subordinate prophets within his ummah. This is exactly our belief in Ahmadiyyat. You understand it now? Thank you.
Excuse me, can I
Yes.
just, 1 second, can I
Yes.
come there?
Yes, please do. Come here and explain yourself further.
Assalamu alaikum.
Masha.
First of all, I must be very thankful to you that you have very kindly answered my question.
I had to. It is your kindness you have come here
Thank
to
you.
ask.
Now, my first question, if I may come back to that, my first question.
Please.
Before you came to this meeting, it was mentioned that Isa alayhi salam, he did not die at the cross, and he was lifted to the sky. To the,
He was lifted to the
I
sky.
don't know. I mean, he did not die.
Who said that? You said that.
No, excuse me. Sorry. No. I'm sorry.
Acha.
If I don't use the right words,
What?
if I do not use the right word, please forgive me.
No, I will
No,
forgive
excuse
you,
me.
but not him.
No. I'm sorry. What I'm
If
saying.
he has misled you, I can't forgive
No,
you.
I'm sorry. I say again. My question is that he did not die at the cross.
Correct.
Okay. Now, if he did not die at the cross, where did he die?
Do you know that according to your belief, there were 120,000 prophets of Allah all over the world?
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Can you mention some of them and where they died?
No. I'm not going to that perspective. My question is, Isa alayhi salam.
If we fail to prove where Jesus died, what effect will have on our belief?
Because we have been given these thoughts that he will return to this world
Yes.
and he will, change the situation of this world
Now this is
and,
a different
and,
question.
and preach the people to the Islamic
This
ideology.
is a different question which you are now framing. The way you try to do it is wrong.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
If Jesus was literally lifted to heaven, there should have been some proof of that from the Quran. If there is just one verse which can be misinterpreted by some who claim that they are rightly interpreting it to mean that Jesus bodily ascended to heaven. That's one verse. If they're against this verse, there are so many other verses of the Quran which categorically declared him to have died. Which one will you choose?
No. If I may say again, where did he die?
No, I'm asking you a different question now.
Yeah.
You understand
I do.
the point?
Yeah.
If there is one verse which could be interpreted either way, some would interpret from this that Jesus did not die upon cross, and some interpret it as he ascended to heaven without even being crucified.
Yeah.
That's one verse.
Yeah.
As against that verse, if there are positive categorical declarations in the Quran, in so many other verses, which declare Jesus to have died here on earth and his soul having returned to God, which of these two will you prefer?
Could I, excuse me please, if I may request you, I'll repeat my question. Did he die or did he not die at the cross?
I have already answered it. We claim he did not die upon cross, but he was attempted to be crucified.
So where did he die then?
You're going back to the same rut
No.
without any purpose.
Okay.
Let me see. Wherever he died upon this earth.
Fine.
He did not die in the heavens.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. Now,
Wherever he died upon this earth.
thank you very
Because
much.
according to the Quran, he definitely died here upon this earth.
Thank you. Now, what we have been given the information
Yes.
that Isa alayhi salam, when he would die at this earth, he would be buried next to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in
Okay.
Medina.
This
Masjid
is
Nabawi.
this is something which cannot happen. Because actually there is no room between the grave of Rasulullah sallam and his companions buried next to him. There is no room.
No, what I may be wrong.
Will the people dig a grave and throw out the companion buried next to Rasulullah sallam to make room for Jesus Christ?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We have been given the information.
Thank you for being sorry, because this is something which is very...
No, the space has been already provided.
Where?
In the next to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
No.
No.
This is wrong.
Fine.
There is no space. But even if there were a space, now you try to visualize the situation of a so-called Jesus Christ. He will not be accepted until he dies and is buried there. Because this is the criterion of his truth. According to your claim, you will raise the same question against anyone who claims to be Jesus. All right, we will wait for you until you die. When you die, if you are buried next to Rasulullah sallam, then we will accept you.
I'm not claiming myself.
But?
I'm not claiming to be Isa.
No. I don't say you are claiming to be Isa.
Yeah.
I'm just addressing you as impersonally, in fact.
No.
Any person who believes
Yeah.
that Jesus should be accepted if he claims to be the same Jesus,
Yeah.
he should only be accepted after he fulfills this predicted condition that when he dies, he should be buried next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You understand this?
Yeah.
Correct. So, anyone who claims to be Jesus, such a person who believes in this will wait for him until he dies. He will say, look here, I'll accept you, all right, but until you die and fulfill this condition to be buried after your death next to Rasulullah sallam, I'm not going to pay any attention to your claim. Correct?
Yeah.
So the whole world of Islam will reject him while he lives. And when such a person who has been rejected totally dies, will the world of Islam permit him to be married next to Rasulullah sallam?
No. Excuse me, please. I'm sorry. You mentioned that earlier on that Isa alayhi salam died on this earth.
Yes.
Okay. Now then you also mentioned that Isa in his own true Isa will not return. Is metaphorical Isa
That's right, yes.
will return.
Right.
So if Isa is not returning onto this world, how would he die at this world?
He has already died.
No. My question is no. I know.
He will not die.
No.
He has already died.
But you said I know. But you said he will not come at this world. If he is not coming to at this world at
He
all.
will not personally come to this world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Try to understand what I'm saying. You just fail to understand what I say in answer. But I'm trying my best. I have tried my best, honestly. Thank you. Please.
Alpha Ahmed is from Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Where is?
Yes, please.
Right, okay. Alpha Ahmed?
Alpha, yeah, he's
No,
standing over there.
Sorry, I didn't see him.
Please.
Why are the Ahmadis rejected in some major Arab countries?
Why?
Are Ahmadis rejected in some major Arab countries?
Why is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam rejected in most of the major countries of the world today? Answer this question. Does their rejection mean anything to you? The majority of the world population today, 1400 years or more after the advent of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, still rejects him. And you believe in his truth. So if the majority of the Muslim countries reject the truth of Hazrat Masih Maud al-Islam, I have every right to believe in him. Because their reaction does not mean anything. Because all the prophets of Allah are always rejected by the people to whom they address. This is a sunnah, that is Allah's way, which you will never find change. All the prophets who are genuine are always rejected by the people they address. Please.
Thank you very much for answering my question. But I would like to know more about why is the Ahmadis rejected and countries like Pakistan.
I'm glad that they reject
Saudi
us
Arabia.
because they are not people worthy in their present form of beliefs and character to become Ahmadis. Their rejection is a proof of Ahmadiyyat, the truth of Ahmadiyyat. But people who are so divided in their views and so fundamentally wrong in their practices, if they reject a person, it does not show any reflection on the truth of that person. This is what has happened right from the beginning of time till today. Whenever a prophet comes, if he is true, if he is genuine, then he is always rejected by the people whom he addresses. Can you find a single exception in this? What? No, he was rejected, and that is, just a minute please, he was rejected, and that is why Jonah migrated. He could not have migrated without their having rejected him. So they accepted him after they saw the signs from Allah, the signs of punishment, and after Jonah had already gone away. This is what the Quran says. No, it does not say that. The Quran says they rejected as a people till the departure of Jonah. And till that time, Jonah had done everything in his power to convince them of his truth. When he failed, then he migrated. Now you may shake your head, but it does not change the Quran. Study the Quran again. Take any translation done by any scholar, and then you will find the truth of what I am saying. Just shaking of your head does not change the truth. The Quran is exactly the same as it was revealed to Rasulullah, and fortunately, these verses are correctly translated by all the scholars in unison with each other. There is no difference between Ahmadiyya translation and a non-Ahmadiyya translation. So have access to any translation, and then you will know that what I am saying is true.
Alpha Ahmed had a second question, and he says, is Jesus coming into the world again? And if yes, will he come as a Muslim or a Christian?
Jesus will not come again in his previous form. Whenever the metaphorical image of Jesus appears, it will appear in Islam, according to the prophecies of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Understand? Thank you. Next, please.
Right, Mr. Saleh is from Iraq. He's studying, he's a postgraduate student at the Imperial College of Science
Where is he?
and Technology. Oh,
Yes,
at the back,
please.
right.
Yes. We have met before this afternoon, haven't we? Did we meet before this afternoon? No? No, there was someone else.
No, it wasn't him.
Huh?
No, that was somebody from France.
Right.
It wasn't him, no.
He was from King's College.
He was from Cambridge, and there was
No,
one.
there was one also from King's
yes,
College.
there was one from King's
Not
College.
from Imperial College.
Not from Imperial.
Right,
no.
please sit down.
His question is, what is your opinion on the suffering of the Muslim people of Iraq? The emphasis being on the people suffering, not the regime.
You see, largely, America is responsible. And America is responsible for their suffering because it serves the cause of Israel and takes its dictation from Israel. America has to follow that because the influence of the Jews in America has become now so powerful that they're at the source of every occupation, meaningful profession and occupation in America. They stand at the head of all such things. They virtually own the profession of, let me count them, the professions they virtually own. The financial market of America, and through America, the financial markets of other smaller countries are being completely controlled by the Jewish hierarchy. The medical profession in America is completely controlled by the Jewish people. Theoretical sciences are completely controlled by the Jewish people. The legal system in America is completely controlled by the Jewish people. All the media, television, etc., and the press, etc., they're all completely controlled by the Jewish people. All the agencies which support the media through advertisements are completely controlled by the Jewish people. It is impossible now for any American president to disregard their pleasure. So although it may not be said that directly they listen to Israel, but they listen to the voice of the Jewish people within their own countries. If they support Israel, such presidents will return to power. If they do not support Israel, they will be discarded as something totally insignificant. This the presidents do understand. So that is the main reason why Iraqi people have been so severely and inhumanly transgressed against. This is what Israel wants to see. The reasons for that why. There may be some mistakes committed by Saddam Hussein, which may have led to this situation, but I don't want to go into the detailed analysis of the situation, please. What I'm saying is correct. This is the result of so many factors that Israel is bent upon destroying Iraq once and forever. And that is why you see all these cruelties committed there.
We've got 2 questions left now, Huzur.
Okay, no problem.
Just 2 questions.
Yes, please.
From Rohan, who asked the first question. And the first one of these is, why are women second to men?
Irfan?
Why are women second to men in Islam?
They're not.
Right.
The Holy Quran categorically declares that women have exactly the same right upon men as men have rights upon women. So, in the matter of rights, they're exactly equal. But in the matter of constitutions, they're different. And all regulations which take into account the different constitutions of men and women have to be different, or they'll be wrong. So to understand the Islamic teaching, you must understand this pivotal point, that women are created differently in their constitutions. Like they carry the burden of human children. Men can go free, whatever they like, They do not carry the responsibility of their lives of taking care of such children either. They walk out of their homes, and it is the poor mothers who bring up the family by whatever means they can afford to. So this is a hard reality. If any teaching does not take this reality into account, that teaching could not be divine. So wherever you find difference in Islamic teaching regarding men and women, this is the only reason why the teaching will appear to be different. Otherwise, in all other teachings, they are treated equally. You understand? Now, I have explained this issue at much greater length, and my previous explanations are available in the form of audio or video cassettes. So your friend can lead you to such cassettes, and you can meet the Imam Sahib, and he will present to you all those cassettes which deal with this subject. And after that, inshallah, I hope, you will fully agree with my contention.
Right, I've just received one more question, if Azur permits.
What?
I've just received another question.
Yes, please.
This is from Desmond Johnson. He's a
Desmond Johnson.
He's a system analyst. Now he writes, the Bible was written over a period of a few thousand years. Do you not consider this the true and living word of God?
What?
Do you not consider this a true and living word of God?
You see, it could not be the word of God while it was verbally dictated by people, not verbally dictated to them by God, but verbally reported by people that this is what was revealed to a person who died, say, 1,000 years ago. So all the authenticity of the Bible is put to doubt because of this spread of 2,000 years. The Bible was collected by word of mouth, was not found in writing till at least 1,000 years after its so-called revelation. All the Christian scholars and Jewish scholars agreed on this subject, that for a very long period, Bible was just verbally reported. There was no written evidence of the word of God which could be presented to people. And then whatever was collected as verbal evidence was also lost totally and destroyed totally during the invasion of Nebuchadnezzar. At that time, Jerusalem was completely destroyed, and whatever remains of Bible were found there were burnt and wiped out of existence. So after that, it was Ezra, 200 years after this, who began to recollect the Bible again through verbal reports. The people of the diaspora began to return individually back to the land of Israel. And it were they who were inquired from by Israel, by Ezra, as to what they remember of the Bible. A council was called by him, which gathered for a long period of time. And because of mutual consultations over a long period, maybe it lasted 2 years or more, the so-called present Bible was reassembled. And this you call an authentic version? I can't understand this. No sensible man who is not already prejudiced in favor of acceptance of the literal Word of God in Bible will accept this claim. Every unprejudiced person must admit that the authenticity of the Word of God is missing in the Bible which is presented to us today. Not only this, but after the reassembly, after the second diaspora of the Jews, the Bible was again lost. And it was with some difficulty that its scattered pieces were collected, assembled together by scholars. In the monastery of Syria, some parchments were found of the lost Bible, which were discovered to have begun many hundred years after Jesus Christ. So this is the story of the authenticity of the literal Word of God in relation to the Bible. This is a story not built by me, built by Jewish and Christian scholars themselves. Right? Please do come.
I don't know too much about what you believe, but what about all the findings of like the Dead Sea Scrolls and things like that?
That's
And
right.
the
That's a
Bible
very
code.
good evidence. It is now being discovered.
Yeah.
And that evidence supports exactly what I am claiming.
Well, what about the Bible code, which actually backs up what the Bible has said for many
No,
years?
that
and
text is
also
different.
actually has made prophetic.
What I am saying is that text which is being discovered from Dead Sea Scrolls
Yeah.
is definitely different from your understanding of the true Bible.
No.
No, you say no, but I have investigated.
I don't. Sorry, I don't agree with you.
You do not agree because you have never investigated. I have put a team of scholars to investigate this matter with the help of non-Muslims, Christians and the Jewish scholars who are directly involved in the work of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Right, okay. And what about the Jewish scholars who are involved in actually the Bible codes?
I'm
and
saying, again, you don't listen to me.
I'm listening.
I'm saying the Jewish scholar,
Yeah,
the one who has earned the greatest fame
yeah.
in this material, in this area, agrees 100% with our findings.
Right, sorry, I've moved on from the Dead Sea Scrolls and I'm actually talking about Bible code.
There are papers, there are articles written on this subject in the Review of Religions.
Right,
So you better read them.
right. So as I said about the Bible code itself.
You are
Are
saying
you-
something of which you have no knowledge.
But I have.
Have you
I'm
read
asking
any
you.
Dead Sea Scroll paper?
So no, I said I've moved on from the Dead Sea Scroll and I'm asking you about Bible code.
What I am saying is, for God's sake, don't acquire something or claim to acquire something which you do not possess.
I've asked for the.
You have
this is the
no
thir-
knowledge
Sorry, this
of
is the
Dead Sea
third
Scrolls.
time.
I have
I've
that
said-
knowledge
Yeah.
which is relevant to the issue.
I'm not
And you are
disagreeing
rejecting
with you.
me?
No, sorry, I'm not disagreeing with you. I've said I've moved on from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I'm asking you about the Bible code.
Whenever the Bible is discovered from the different various papers of Dead Sea Scrolls, the quotes which are given there disagree with the accepted quotes of the Bible of the same places.
Right. Can I just sort of say something here very quickly? You've talked about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Fine. I'm happy with what you've said.
Yes.
Okay. Right. What I'm actually talking about is there was a finding some time ago that the Bible had a code where it revealed prophecies through time, like Hitler, the Second World War, and things like that. That's what I'm asking you about. How can you sort of?
Just a minute. As far as the prophecies which remain unfulfilled, these parts are never permitted by God to change.
Mhm.
The change always occurs in other areas which relate to the past. But when it relates to the unfilled prophecies of God, God sees to it that those prophecies are not changed until they are fulfilled.
Correct.
So amazingly, the Dead Sea Scrolls also support this view. When it comes to the prophecies, it accepts those prophecies to be genuine because it quotes them exactly as they are quoted in the previous Bible.
Okay, I thank you for your time, but
Thank you.
you know, we
Yes,
seem to
thank you.
misunderstand each other. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. The final question is again from Rohan this time. What is the meaning of life according
Rohan?
to Islam?
Are you Rohan?
Yeah.
Are you a Muslim? Huh? No, I mean Muslim by faith, by birth.
Yeah.
So Rohan, I don't know what sort of name is this. Could it be Rohan? Rohan is a meaningful Arabic name. So maybe you were given this name, and because in English it can be mispronounced, so you have started pronouncing your own name as Rohan. Right? So start doing it now, correctly. You are Rohan. Okay? Thank you.
His question is, what is the meaning of life according to Islam?
You call it a small question? The whole Quran is about the meaning of life. It's a very wide question which relates to all activities of life in every form. In nutshell, I can describe the meaning of life as an exercise of creating consciousness beginning from the dead and evolving that consciousness in the direction of God, where that consciousness could develop to begin to understand things beyond his direct physical awareness and to enable life to finally understand the possibilities of the existence of God. This is what I find to be the meaning of life. Right? Thank you. Yes, please.
So that concludes the questions we had. We had 53 guests. Some of them would like to have the initiation at your hands, if possible.
Of course, I will be ready to do it now if you like.
Right.
You see, with the grace of Allah, I have found today that every question was answered, mashallah. Previously, it always happened in other sessions that many questions remained unanswered. So I am fully satisfied today that as far as was within my power, I have tried to satisfy the inquiries of the people in whichever area they were interested.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much for
Thank you.
this wonderful occasion provided to me of exchanging views with you.